Welcome to Travel Life Happy Wife. Please join us for our family vacation aboard the Voyager of the Seas Royal Caribbean ship, going from Italy through France and part of Spain, ending in Barcelona. So let's get started. First, of course, we had to leave from our home base in Austin, Texas to Chicago O'Hare. This, of course, took us through one of our favorite travel hacks, which is, of course, having Admirals Club access aboard American Airlines. Provides food and drinks as you're traveling, and then we were able to board the plane towards Venice, Italy. This is a wide body plane heading all the way to Venice for about a 9 hour flight. Of course, one of the things we love to do is sleep on the plane. Quick travel hack. There are some medicines you can give your kid to let them sleep longer, which then ended us in Venice, Italy, one of the beautiful gems within Italy. Our favorite, of course, was being able to see all of the amazing waterways of this city that was built into marshland. We noticed the beautiful architecture as we walked through the city, and of course, tried as much of the local food and cuisine as possible. You'll notice the gondolas and the tourists really everywhere as you continue through the city. However, the part of the city we were staying in, as evidenced by the video up above, really didn't have a whole lot of tourists. We found it incredibly quiet and very peaceful.
First impressions of Venice. What do you think, Monica?
Well, the cannolis are good.
Indeed, I'll agree. The food everywhere here so far has been just amazing. We've had, what was your favorite thing that we've had so far? Gelato. You've had
It's
it
everywhere.
twice, right? Yeah, two times that we've had gelato.
I think the things I noticed most are the beauty and the lack of noise. So because there's no cars here, it makes it very quiet. There's just no honking, no car noise, no street noise. The air seems a lot cleaner
Yeah.
as well. But yeah, and people were really, really friendly.
No, I agree. And just seeing water everywhere you go, I mean, that's so impressive. And the bridges, they're absolutely gorgeous that are going across. Like, you can't help but stop at each one and just take a look at all the beautiful boats and the beautiful scenery that's there. The other thing I know that we've always loved, but it's the cafe culture. So we absolutely love the fact that there's so many little small restaurants that you can hop into. Today we had an amazing meal. Grayson, what did you get?
I had pizza.
Pizza, your favorite thing in
Shocking.
the world, right?
But every time you walk by these cafes, and I don't know if it's a Saturday, we'll have to see as this week goes on, but there's just people out everywhere having their aperitifs, which I had one at dinner and it was delicious. And yeah, I just love that like culture of people hanging out. We also noticed that most of the people in restaurants are in twos or fours. There's not giant groups of people.
All right, Grayson, you ready for day 2? All right, all
Might need
right.
a nap first, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna go
I
get
got
some
cannoli
sleep.
on me.
We'll see you guys tomorrow.
So, and at the end of day 2, I asked my wife if she's a happy wife.
Oh, your wife is exhausted today.
You know, they sometimes say it's a marathon, not a sprint. For whatever reason, you decided to plan both a marathon and a sprint today.
You know, we had one full day in Venice, and so we had to do all the things.
And we did.
And we did. And we walked over 7 miles today. And here's what we learned. So, coffee is delicious here.
Absolutely spectacular. The pastries.
They're amazing. Not too sweet, just the right amount. Went to 2 different coffee shops this morning. Absolutely delicious. Lovely. Sat outside. I talked about how I'm going to move to Venice for 3 months so that I can visit every cafe in Venice because it was super quiet.
Yeah. But one thing Monica was saying, though, was how she loved how there just weren't that many people. Now, as it turns out, we were just in the wrong place.
I really thought we were in the tourist area, but turns out the neighborhood we're staying in is not. We went down to the Rialto Bridge and to St. Mark's Basilica, and holy cow, I don't know what all those people are doing there. It was insane, I gotta say. We did a walking tour this morning. Our tour guide was Anna. She was great. It was lovely. We had a group of 9 of us. It was nice and quaint and small, and she showed us some really great places to get some good food, which I'm sure we'll show you. But then our afternoon, we spent doing a tour of St. Mark's Basilica and the Doge Palace. And I will warn you, don't do these two things in the same day. It's just too much. They also need to stop letting so many people in that basilica at the same time. It was insane.
It was packed, but it was also beautiful. Yeah,
absolutely stunning.
Definitely think you should go. Gold gilded. You'll see all of that within the video.
Our tour guide this morning said, don't do a tour because it'll take too long. What you should do is just buy tickets and get an audio tour. Well, I'll tell you, if you just buy tickets, you can't skip the line. So that was the bonus of us having a scheduled tour, is we were able to get directly in, but then we still had to wait to get into the museum upstairs. And also, our tour guide was like the driest history teacher you've ever met in your life. She wasn't funny, she wasn't entertaining, and when you're talking about history, that's really the fun part of it. We were in a group of 21 people, and so trying to navigate those giant crowds was pretty hard.
I also think that so they gave us each a headset that we could wear so we could hear her wherever she was. Frankly, it just didn't work that great. So by the end, one of the things we want to share with you all is, we've got a 9-year-old, and by the end, he was just beat.
Done.
It was too long of a tour.
Done.
I'd say the walking tour was a hit early in the morning. The one later in the afternoon, which you'll of course see lots of video on, wasn't our favorite. But then we did something that everyone just has to do at least once when they go to Venice, and that is the gondola tour. Stunning, totally a tourist thing. We'll definitely agree to that. But it made for a very busy day, to say the least. Our feet are sore, and we are absolutely ready to get to bed. So,
hint on your gondola tour, if you can be the first one to get on the boat, you get the best seat. So gondola tours are shared with 5 people. There's 5 seats, and so it was the 3 of us and then 2 random strangers. It was clearly a couple, and we got to sit together facing out, and one of their people, I'm sure we'll have some video of this, was sitting near our son, and then the other girl was at the other end facing us. Like, she couldn't, it was, yeah. So if you can try, get on the gondola first.
Good point.
And don't do a walking tour and St. Mark's and the Doge Palace all in one day. Do it in more. The answer is just stay in Venice more than one full day.
That is true. I will kind of, to wrap this up though, I will say this Airbnb has been absolutely great. If you're able to find one, please do it. We have more room than we could have ever imagined in a place like this. So it's been really great. But hey, everyone, thank you so much.
I'm going to go get a foot massage.
Sounds great.
From him.
Next day, we started our long 3-hour trip by bus to the port in Ravenna, where we join up with our ship with Royal Caribbean. Now, this was a very long trip, and this is a theme that you'll notice throughout the vacation, is that oftentimes the port and the destination that you wish to go to see something is actually quite far away. So I would say most days we probably spent at least an hour navigating trains and buses and etc., just trying to get to the tourist attraction we wanted. But finally, in this case, we saw our ship and began to approach and got really excited to find out that there was a ridiculously long delay. Apparently, the Italian authorities decided today was the day for a security check. But finally, after waiting for a while, we were able to board our ship and begin to enjoy our vacation. Now, for us, this wasn't our first time on Voyager of the Seas. We've actually been on Voyager of the Seas 2 times before this. And I'm not going to turn this video into a full review of the ship, except to say it is one of their smaller to maybe medium-sized ships. We've really enjoyed our time in Voyager of the Seas because, as you can see, there's still quite a few amenities and a central area here where you can shop and do things. But we always find things to do on the ship. There's plenty of entertainment and plenty of outdoor activities to do as well. So we don't find this ship lacking. In fact, we actually really like the size of the ship. Cafe Promenade, of course, where you can get snacks pretty much any time. We really enjoy their pizza, although, of course, on this vacation, we were in Italy, so it's really difficult to go and seek out pizza from a cruise ship. But we did stay in a suite, and this is something that we've been doing for a while now. Staying in a suite for us is really relaxing, but it also gives us access to the suite lounge. So it gives us a slightly larger room, definitely a much larger bathroom, and access to the suite lounge. If you haven't had the opportunity to experience a suite lounge, here's really the benefits. Gives you a great view and a place to go on the ship where you can just hang out. And in the evenings, you get to enjoy unlimited free drinks. Of course, you have to be cautious, but also hors d'oeuvres. So it's somewhere that we enjoy, especially on this trip, to be able to go to after a long day, relax, and debrief. So after some time in the suite lounge, we decided to go and enjoy some of the evening entertainment, which we've generally found the evening entertainment with Royal Caribbean to be actually quite good. We've seen some really good comedians, some Broadway style shows. There's an ice skating rink actually on the ship, so you can watch some ice skating performances. And in this case, this evening, we saw a couple perform for us. So had a really great time that night, and then followed it up with a dinner at Chops. And it is the one place on the ship, the restaurant, the exclusive restaurant experiences that I really do recommend. The following day was our at sea day, and we actually wish we had one more. We became so tired, but we love to start our day in Chops Grill. That's one of the benefits of being uh, in a suite is you actually get breakfast within Chops Grill. However, then we went outside, had some fun, enjoyed some of the things that were on the ship. Specifically, Grayson loves the putt putt. Monica loves going and spending some of our money in the Casino Royale. And then Grayson participated in a soccer tournament, which his team won. Later, Grayson and I were actually invited to go up on the ship's bridge as part of being a suite guest. This isn't extended to everyone, but it certainly was something that we got to do. We've done this twice before, and got to see exactly where the ship is controlled and how they operate and maneuver it, and got to meet the captain as well. So it was just in general, a great sea day. The following day saw us dock in Messina. Here we'd planned an excursion to Mount Etna, as well as some time in Taormina. Just a beautiful city.
All right, here we are in Messina. We're exhausted. But quick reactions. Grayson, what was your favorite thing that you did today?
I think it was going to Mount Etna. So in Mount Etna, we had to climb a very high hill. Very high and steep. So I think I was a little bit sad that we had to climb that high, but I think it was worth it.
Think it was worth it? Monica, what'd you see?
I mean, Mount Etna was beautiful, but Taormina was amazing. Not sure if I know how to say that word because I am not Italian. We had some really, really great food there, and it was delicious.
Yeah, apparently I like cannolis, which are really called cannolos. That was the big revelation for me,
Sicily.
But only in Sicily. So we conquered Messina. We are ready for tomorrow. So
Until then, we're going to bed.
Which we absolutely did. In fact, as most nights, we actually enjoyed room service in the room. We were so exhausted. As we left, we passed Mount Stromboli, a volcano in the middle of the Mediterranean. And for our next day, we were going to spend the day in Pompeii. And Pompeii, if you don't know, was actually wiped out in the year 79 AD by Mount Vesuvius, which you'll see perfectly framed here as part of their forum. But let Monica tell you a little bit more about our day.
Hey guys, happy travels.
yeah, for sure.
Here we are in Napoli, aka Naples. And we got here about 7:30, got off the ship and took a little metro and then a train to Pompeii. If you've never been to Pompeii, you should go. It's intense, but it's also absolutely gigantic. It is so big, guys. Like, I realize it's a city, but I didn't realize it was that big of a city.
That's true.
So we conquered Pompeii, and by conquered I mean we saw like half of it in 4 hours. And then we took the train back and went to get, which according to Google is the best pizza in the world.
According to Google, and I don't think it disappointed. I mean, we
Not
had
at
all
all.
kinds of things, and even our 9-year-old who's off camera right now admitted it was the best pizza he's ever had.
It was pretty delicious. And I was a little skeptical about the best pizza in the world because pizza was created here in Naples, in case you didn't know that. And it was well worth the metro trip over there. It was in the little corner of nowhere land that I don't think we ever would have found had Google not told us to go there. So we did it.
and we got the best pizza in the world.
We did. You just tried some frozen coffee
Oh,
cream
man.
deliciousness.
It's hot, right? And by hot, it's 77, but it's warm. And we've been walking for like 6 miles today. And so we went to a little cafe to get a coffee. And I gotta tell you, I was gonna get a cappuccino, but it's too dang hot. And so they had this like frozen machine doing its thing. And this lovely Italian man said, "You want?" And I said, "Uh-huh." And he called it crema coffee. And it was divine, you guys. Absolutely divine. So get some crema coffee. Naples, thumbs up.
If you're interested to see more video on Pompeii, I've already posted a full visual tour of Pompeii. Please go take a look at that. And now, onward with the vacation. Now, this kicked off another day where we were incredibly excited. This was going to be our day at the Colosseum. And of course, it started out, as most of our days did, with an hour or so of transit. Now, luckily, Europe's transit systems are amazing. The trains, the subways, they're all really great. But then we went to the Colosseum, and let me tell you, it did not disappoint. Now, one of the things that we will say is we had a small tour, meaning it was just the three of us, one other lovely lady from Britain, and an amazing tour guide. I really recommend that you opt for the small tours and book this in advance. It was amazing. One of the surprises of this tour was there was an ancient forum right across the way from the Colosseum. So it was almost like we got two tours in one, as our tour guide took us through this ancient excavated area and explained all of the history to us. Our following day was spent in Florence, Italy, an absolutely stunning city that you have to see. These right here are the views from Michelangelo's Square. We were told there's 34 different museums within Florence, and we absolutely have to go back to see them. It's important to note that we did a golf cart tour, which I highly recommend to be able to see as much as we saw in such a short amount of time. The other thing I highly recommend are the sandwiches within Florence. They are world renowned for this sandwich made on focaccia bread. You absolutely have to get it. It was positively delicious, and it just made the end of our day darn near perfect. Our one and only day in France was spent in Marseille, France. And let me just say, the port was not convenient to see in Marseille. It was at least an hour and a half by train to get to Marseille, plus a metro. So, although we really did enjoy seeing Marseille, we took the free walking tour, which I highly recommend. We were really only there for about 3 hours, but we crammed as much as we possibly could into those 3 hours.
Cannot come Parisians to Marseille is wearing a t-shirt written PSG. We hate them. So older. Here is used to be the courthouse of Marseille in the 1700s where they built it. Now it belongs to the Hotel de Ville. You know what is the Hotel de Ville?
And at this point, we knew our cruise was about to come to an end, but we were really looking forward to our next destination, Barcelona.
So you're in Barcelona, and now you must do the number one thing that I feel is absolutely necessary when you go to Barcelona. When I told a good friend of mine that we were going to go to Barcelona, she said, "You must go to this basilica." And I was like, "Okay, whatever." Well, she was not wrong. You must visit the Sagrada Familia Basilica. It is absolutely stunning. It is not done. It was started in 1882 and is, nowhere close, honestly, to being done. But this is the most stunning building I've ever seen in my entire life. You look at it from the outside and just see all these sculptures and all these stories, and it's absolutely breathtaking until you walk inside. You have to get tickets to this. I believe they go on sale about 4 months prior to when you actually want to go. So get your tickets and get your tickets for the afternoon. It's when the sun comes through the windows and it is absolutely breathtaking. My jaw dropped when I walked into this building. We also got tickets to go up in the tower, which was amazing. I highly recommend it. Get tickets to go into the basilica and then also up in the tower so you can see Barcelona from way up high. You will not regret this, I promise.
And with that, we were on to enjoy our last evening in Europe and in Barcelona. Although we were a little sad, we certainly went out for a nice meal and actually happened to sit in between two families that had been on the same cruise ship as us. Certainly didn't seek that out. We had an entertaining staff and just a lovely evening before going the next morning to board our plane and to head back to the United States.
All right, everyone, we're back in the Austin area, and I think it's safe to say we had a great vacation. What do you think, Grayson?
Mm-hmm.
Just a that's what I get after a 10-day vacation? All right. That's what you get from a 9-year-old, right? So I think it's safe to say we had a great time. But Monica, what were some of your pros of this trip in particular?
I mean, we visited, what, seven different cities in
Think so.
10 days. So we really got a feel for multiple different parts of Europe all at the same time, which I think was really great.
I agree. Well, and I think getting to taste a little bit of the food and get to see a little bit of the scenery, although that kind of leads us into one of the cons, though, as well. I think every destination, we wish we could have stayed longer, which we kind of knew getting into this that was going to be the case. We wanted this to be kind of a taste of Europe trip for us. But yeah, I think that there were some things that we wish we could have done some more. Any other pros, Monica, that you just loved about the trip?
I mean, the fact that we didn't have to pack our stuff up
Yeah.
every night, right? Like, we were able to get on the ship, unpack all of our stuff, and it was just there. And every day we woke up in a different city, which was really great, just to open the curtains and, oh, look, there's
Yeah.
a whole new part of Italy or France or Spain. And so I really liked that I didn't have to keep packing my stuff. We also got to come back to something that was very comfortable every day.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you're traveling in a foreign country, you don't know the language, you don't know where you're going, you don't know what you're doing. It can get a little overwhelming at times. And I just wanted to stop making decisions. And so it was really nice just to get back to something very, very familiar for us.
Well, and it was even more familiar for us because that was the third time we'd been on this ship. Speaking of this ship, Grayson, can you tell me really quickly, what is something that you loved the most on the ship?
I think what I loved the most on the ship was the putt-putt and the sports court.
Yeah, and you were what? You got a medal for doing what?
Winning the soccer championship.
Boom. That's right. Now, going back to some of the pros and cons, though, one of the big cons for us was the ports were way far away from the destinations we wanted to be at. So we spent a lot of time, as you see in the video, spent a lot of time on trains and subways and buses, and that part wasn't optimal. I wish the ports were a little bit closer. So that is one thing.
Google Maps for the win, for sure. There was one part in Livorno where we didn't know where the heck we were going, and Google Maps told me something different, and actually a local woman helped us. So that was very helpful. But there were multiple steps to getting us to our destinations. It was oftentimes a shuttle from the ship to a bus, and then a bus to a train station, and then a train to a metro. And so it was just a lot of figuring out how to get where we wanted to go. And it took not only a lot of decision making and, you know, like we're looking for this sign, we don't know where we're going, but also a lot of our time.
Yeah.
So when you're in a port for 12 hours, it seems like, oh, we have all the time in the world. But when you spend 2 hours getting to Rome and 2 hours getting back from Rome, it definitely cuts into your time and also makes things a little bit nerve-wracking. So
And I think Marseille was a great example of that, right? Like we weren't in Marseille that long, or the port where we were to go to Marseille that long. It took us, an hour and a half to get to Marseille. We only really had 3 hours or so there. So it would be unfair for us to even judge that locale. As you've seen in the video, it was still, we had a good time, but it wasn't quite what we expected. Grayson, the food, I mean, Italian food really spoke to you. What was your favorite thing that you had in Italy for food?
Pizza in Naples.
I mean,
It
it was
was
great,
delicious.
right? Was it the best pizza that you've ever had?
Yes.
Best pizza Grayson has ever had. You heard it first here, folks.
Which, once again, amazing food in Italy and Spain. Can't really speak to France because we didn't eat much there. But I'll tell you, it made the food on the ship look really subpar, I have to say.
Yeah,
I've never really been like, oh, the food on the ship, it's not good. The food in Italy was exceptional, and therefore eating dinner on the ship was a little bit of a letdown, I gotta say.
It was, and I don't think that's to say that the ship had bad food. It's just
No.
we had such good food during the course of the day. Frankly, we weren't that hungry when we got back. Now, the other one that you've certainly seen from the videos, we did a lot of walking, miles and miles per day. I think the lowest day that we had was probably about 6 miles, I want to say.
It was a lot.
Yeah, it was between 6 to 9 miles most of the days. So, for some of you, that may not be something that you want to do, but we chose to do a lot of walking on the trip.
Yeah, I think another thing is I personally hate big groups, especially when it comes to buses. And so we could have absolutely booked all of our excursions through the cruise line, and it would have been a lot easier for us. We would have just gotten off and got on whatever bus they told us to. But the idea of getting on and off a bus with 70 other people to go makes me nauseous. It just is awful. So if that's your thing, though, then I think that this cruise would have been a lot easier for us, because then they will put you on the bus, which will take you to the train and put you on the train and make sure that you know where you're going. Where there was one point we were standing outside of a train and we were like, we think this is the train, but is this the train? Are we in the right place? And
But
so
for you and I, that makes the adventure, though, too. I mean, that's
was-
part of what we enjoy.
it was fun, I will tell you, but if that's not your jam, if figuring out the logistics of how to get to places
there's
is not
other
your thing,
options.
there's definitely other options to make this more doable. And I think especially the cruise lines likely do a much better job if you are not physically able to do things, of telling you things that you can do. So that to be said, just if you aren't super physically able, that doesn't mean you can't do this. I just think it's going to limit the things that you can do.
Well, and this is something we agreed to. If you're not physically able to do some of the things we were talking about, by far the best city that we experienced for that was Barcelona. We noticed the streets were flatter, the sidewalks were flatter, the sidewalks were very wide, they seemed very accommodating. So, we both have parents that are in their 70s, so we were actually looking at that while we were going through the different cities. And I'll tell you, some of the cities and some of the ports would have been very difficult to navigate.
Yeah,
with someone that had mobility issues.
If you are in a wheelchair, have mobility issues, or have a child with a stroller, don't go to Venice.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
Too
Wait
many
till that
stairs.
kid can walk. It's just, there's a lot of stairs and walking, and there's no such thing as Uber there. So you have to walk. There's really no choice. So.
All right, Grayson, your overall impression of the trip. Was it a good trip? Was it a great trip? Was it a terrible trip? What do you think?
I think it was a great trip.
What was your favorite part?
Ooh, that's hard. I think seeing the Colosseum.
That's a good one. Yeah, that was a really good one. And what would you say to maybe families out there that have kids your age? Should they think about a trip like this?
You should definitely think about it.
Do you think they should do it?
Some kids I don't think would love this trip, and I think some kids would.
What type of kid would love the trip? What do you think?
A kid that's into like history and is like all in on stuff.
Monica, what's your overall impression? Would you do it again? Was it the right trip?
I think it was the right trip. Now that we've done that itinerary, I don't know that I would do it again, simply because I want to do others. And it gave us that little taste that now I want to go back to visit several of the places we went for an extended period of time. So I don't know that I would necessarily book that same trip again, but it's not because I didn't absolutely love it. It's just that I want to conquer something else in the world. So.
Well, and I think the thing that really came out from our conversations every evening was Monica and I are just ready to retire, even though we're really not as close as we want to be to retiring. But it gave us some really great ideas about maybe longer term trips. I know we both agreed we want to go back to Sicily. Florence, we want to go spend just a ton of time there going through the museums. So it was exactly the trip that we wanted it to be.
Yeah,
So-
if you're looking for a taste of Europe, it's a really great option, especially if
It
you've
is.
never traveled to Europe before. Because like I said, you always have that comfort of the cruise ship at the end of the day. And especially if you aren't comfortable navigating European cities, then I think that the cruise ship excursions could give you that comfort to kind of get you into the cities and into European travel, so that then you can maybe feel more comfortable doing it on your own later.
I know one thing that we spoke a lot about while we were having dinner or lunch was about language. Monica nor I speak any second
Anything.
languages,
Nothing.
which is actually really depressing for both of us, and it's something that we're going to be working on. We need to learn Portuguese for some reasons that I'm sure we'll get to in a future episode. But we found that most people spoke not only good English, but great English. We had very little trouble getting around. Even if we had both Apple and Google have a Translate app that's really, really quite good. But we had no problem. In fact, at one point, it made me feel really feel like kind of an ignorant person when our taxi cab driver, I asked him how many languages he spoke, and he said 5, and he said it to me in perfect English. So definitely, I would encourage you. I think that the language is a lot of fun. Try to respond back to people. Try to say thank you and hi in the language of the country that you're in. Even if you fumble around with it, it's fun, and I think that they really respect it. So we'll end this with some final thoughts. Monica, any final thoughts on the trip that you can think of? Anything that you would do differently?
I mean, it was amazing, absolutely exhausting. Make sure you have your walking shoes ready. It's taken me several days to recover, to get back to life, and not only from the jet lag aspect, but just like the wear and tear on our bodies. And I mean, we're in our 40s, and so it's a lot. It's a lot of movement. But it was absolutely amazing. We had some amazing memories that we will forever remember. And yeah, if you're thinking about a trip to Europe, it's a great option.
And I don't think I'm in my 40s. I think it's more like overtime in my 30s. That's the way that I want to look at it.
Honey, you're closer to 50, babe.
Okay.
Nice
With
try.
that being said,
That's gonna get edited out.
No, it's not. With that being said, we will ask the really fundamental question. Travel life. Did we get a happy wife on this trip, Grayson? Or happy mommy?
Do you think so?
I think so.
Awesome.
Happy wife.
Happy wife. Awesome. Well, hey, everyone, thanks so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed our video. Monica's been just churning out a ton of short videos and TikToks. Please take a look at those.
Subscribe below.
Exactly. And also, please think about looking for more videos that are going to be coming out here soon. Monica certainly wants to work you through some of the things that she's been doing as far as planning trips. And we've got more trips coming up. And get
Happy
out there and
travels.
travel. Bye, everyone.